So a very good day to all of you. I know that you're joining across the world, for some it's still the morning and the evening. So good day, everyone. And a big welcome to you to the closing session of the 2022 e-commerce week. And the purpose of this session is a short session, is to highlight some of the key outcomes of our joint efforts during the past few days. And it's a bit of a celebration and of the amazing conversations you have had, the bridges built, the sharing of experience and lessons learned as you all strive to deepen the digital engagement and the network established. So there's a lot of good things that have gone through and the list goes on. So this concluding session will be structured as follows. First, we will hear from our Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Isabel Durant. And then I will take you through the main highlights of this week. And there's a very nice little PowerPoint presentation. And then we will hear from two distinguished panelists, Ms. Nina Angelovska, Macedonian E-Commerce Association President, and an E-Trade for Women advocate. And Nina, it's so good to have you because you have done this journey with us for a while now. And then on my left, I have Mr. Pradeep Mehta, Secretary General of CUTS International, and a great collaborator on the E-Trade for All initiative. So good to have you, Pradeep.
Thank you.
And after that, I will open up for general comments, questions, and suggestions, especially your views on lessons learned from this year, and also any suggestions you have of the overall theme of the next e-commerce week. And then hopefully we will close at 18 hours, actually at the latest, because I think that's the room shuts down on us. So let me now give the floor to our Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Isabel Durant. Isabel, you have the floor.
Thank you. Is it working? Do you hear me? Do you see me?
Yes.
Perfect. So, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear participants, I'm very happy to be with you now for this closing session, even if I'm not in the room with you, because I gave this afternoon a training for diplomat on digital issues. So it was really close to what you did all the week. And frankly, what a week. Shamika will take you through the key figures and highlights of the week, but I've had the privilege to attend and contribute to quite a few sessions, and I have witnessed the enthusiasm and the interest for this year's topic, data and digitalization for development. Our 2022 eWeek was different in some regards. As you know, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and due to the renovation works undergoing at the Palais des Nations, we had to move and adapt the entire conference into a new blended format, some things we are becoming experts. And I believe it worked out very well. So through the mix of hybrid and fully digital sessions, we allowed more people than ever before to connect and participate to the e-commerce week. Hundreds of private messages were sent through our event platform, and 2,500 participants came together and discussed issues related to data and digitalization for inclusive and sustainable development. And even if we missed the physical connection and the dynamic atmosphere from previous edition, we did manage to interact in very meaningful ways. And this is what I see as a main takeaway from this year's spatial sessions. So in today's challenging world, we need more than ever a platform for dialogue, neutral, multi-stakeholders, to keep each other updated on major development implications when it comes to issues affecting our lives and also our way to develop our relationships. So we know that the multilateral world is certainly in turmoil. As Diplo Foundation, one of our valuable partners, said, it is the time to learn lessons and also to preserve the benefits and the good habits of the multilateral system. And I believe modestly that, but also firmly, that this e-commerce week is one of the example of the vitality and necessity of this kind of multilateralism. So I would like to share with you some key messages from this week. First, I believe there was a strong consensus that data governance has become increasingly important and that it will greatly affect how the evolving digital economy will affect or impact the sustainable development. Secondly, we have seen throughout the week, including during the Intergovernmental group of experts, that the COVID-19 pandemic not only boosted the uptake of digital solutions, but it also raised concerns of the challenges of achieving more inclusive outcomes from digitalization. Digital divides have in many cases been accentuated. Thirdly, many sessions have pointed to the need for building trust online. In fact, during the pandemic, we have also witnessed an upsurge in criminal activities online, the spread of misinformation and e-commerce fraud. Fourth, perhaps the most important takeaway for me is the recognition of effective partnership and of the need to connect the dots across existing silos. And I'm so pleased to say that more than 30 eTrade for All members contributed this year to this e-commerce week, and also that we have had a nice mix of stakeholders throughout the 100 or so sessions. Finally, what is next? We have a collective responsibility to make sure digital transformations brings the outcomes we want, paying attention to economic, social, and environmental dimensions. And as previously mentioned, and as we witness daily, data are an increasingly powerful resource. It needs to be generated, managed, used, shared, and governed wisely. This is far from being the case today. And I hope that all of you will leave this week with lots of food for thought, new insight to reflect, to also new ideas and new partners that will help you to engage further towards building a better digital future. Be sure that UNCTAD will continue to advocate for this meaningful engagement to which I am personally strongly committed. And with those few reflections, I would like to thank very warmly all the speakers, panelists, participants, and especially the UNCTAD e-commerce week team for their excellent contribution and efforts for this successful conference on such an important and timely topic. So I wish all of you a most enjoyable weekend and celebration for those who are celebrated the Eid al-Fitr. So thank you for your attention, and I'm really very, very excited to listen to the conclusion of all other partners, and especially civil society and our friends of eTrade for Women. Thank you.
Thank you, DST. Thank you for these insightful remarks, and also highlighting the, the key lessons and the messages that we take from the week. So now, as you said, let me now show some of the numbers from the week. I think some of the numbers you also mentioned. So just to let you know, I think we had an extremely successful e-commerce week this year. It's sad that we couldn't see you in the rooms. But anyway, but we were connected 2,600 plus registered participants, and we had 100 plus sessions. And I know, as Sabrina said, and we had a lot more requests, but we simply could not accommodate. It was not humanly possible to accommodate more than 100 sessions. We had 100 plus sessions. We had most amazing speakers and moderators, 550 of them. And we have an extremely, organized sessions, one high-level dialogue and 8 high-level sessions. And I'm very happy to say there were 139 countries represented. So this was truly inclusive. I think this was the theme, including how to make digital e-commerce and the digital economy inclusive. And we managed, you all were connected from 139 countries, and 30 of them are LDCs. And the online presence was huge, and these numbers are kind of, I was quite impressed and proud to see 21 million people reached on Twitter, and 1,000 plus social media contributors. So it's not just us talking about the event, and it's all of you out there talking about and giving publicity, having basically having a conversation of the week. And we had 400 plus tweets and 51 million people reached on news, blogs, and web. So I think this is truly amazing, and this is what we wanted to achieve, to make this discussion truly inclusive. So I must say, I think we reached this goal. So now to give you some more numbers, and I'm also very happy to say 48% of participants were women. And this is another element. We all talk a lot about the digital divide, and we talk about the enormous difficulties women face in this area, to understand, to learn lessons, to learn from each other, to hear what everybody has done. And it was good to see 48% of women participants. And as Isabel, you mentioned, a big thank you to the E-Trade for All partners, and 58 sessions organized by 31 out of the 34 E-Trade for All partners. And I think this is a very, very big achievement, that this platform is truly working. Platform, we have mobilized ourselves to come together to be a true network. Now, let me also give a shout out to our intergovernmental expert meeting. And we just had an outcome document agreed and done and gravelled. So I just would like to also say a big thank you to member states. It's not easy to negotiate, and it is not easy to negotiate in multilateral spaces right now. But you truly came together, and you had difficult issues. Some of the issues are difficult, about issues about data, the newly emerging data divides, also so privacy, human rights, technology transfer, these are all very big issues, but you managed to come up with a very, very nice outcome. I think it's not just an outcome for, just not a piece of paper, but it has a very insightful recommendations as to what UNCTAD should do and as what we should do as an international community. So we had 80 countries participating in our IGE, and we had 11 international organizations coming to make presentations and to engage with the member states. And we had 323 registered participants. So a big thank you to our member states, and also to our chair, the ambassador of Indonesia, and the co-chair of ambassador of Chile. So this is great. And then I think, Isabel, you also talked about the representation by stakeholders. So this is the next slide. You can see the 30% of governments, and then we also had a 20% of private sector participation. And this is also good, because I think this is something that we don't also see, private sector being engaged in this sort of international forums. So this is very good. And we had the UN participating 14%, and the intergovernmental organizations, the academia, the NGOs, and others. So this was, I think this is a good representation. And just to give you a couple of quotes from our colleagues on, so the next slide, the colleagues on ITC said that, I don't need to read, I think you can see, I think it talks about the fluidity of the program, and absolutely spot on, because it's not easy to muster this massive platform-based meeting. So I think this is good. And we have Diplo Foundation. This is Diplo Foundation is our big partner. And then we also have civil society thanking the organization, and exchanging views between stakeholders, and creating the space for that, because that's also an extremely important space, especially in digital. It's not something that we can do just by governments or private sector. It has to be a real multi-stakeholder engagement. So this is also some couple of few things to show you that with all of your participation, your commitment, I think the week really happened, and it happened very well. So now let me go to, I think our, let me go to Nina now. Nina, you probably have been hearing strong calls during this week about the need to make the digital economy more inclusive. The whole theme was that. And I'm sure you also heard that the women entrepreneurs face enormous barriers, not just the barriers of the analog world, and also when they enter in the digital world, there's a new set of barriers that come there. So Nina, tell us, following your active role as an e-trade for women advocate during the past 2 years, what would be your main piece of advice to other women entrepreneurs wishing to follow your path, because you have been truly a path breaker in this digital sphere? And also tell us, what could governments around the world do in order to improve the current situation? So Nina, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I would like first to thank everybody for being at this session for the very end closing remarks of this e-trade e-commerce week. It's a pleasure to be part of the e-commerce week for, I think, almost 5 years. And on the closing remarks, or on the questions that you asked regarding the what would be my advice, and that we have been hearing over the whole week, basically, that the progress is simply happening too slow. And unfortunately, even though the digital world has by far more potential to be equal, it is still male dominated, and especially when it comes to top and leadership positions. So I would say, I often get asked about what is the advice I would give to women entrepreneurs, and it always somehow comes down to a few, let's say, keywords, which are hard work, constant learning, ambition, confidence, resourcefulness, and very importantly, discipline. So I think it's not easy to be an entrepreneur, let alone woman entrepreneur. It takes courage, it takes sacrifice, and we constantly have to prove ourselves, our value, our competencies. So I would, let's say, my advice would be, firstly, I would start with advise women to aspire and aim high, first of all, to be confident and fearless. However, ambition and confidence, as we all know, itself is not enough if it's not backed up by knowledge, by constant learning, by discipline, and by hard work. So I would say if they have the competence, the knowledge, and the mindset, I think that there is no reason why any women wishing to aspire to be entrepreneur shouldn't be brave or aim high enough and believe that the sky is the limit, really. So yes, it's more difficult for women. As I said, we need to constantly prove ourselves, but successful entrepreneurs are able to turn challenges into opportunity, to take action, to make things happen, and to drive for results. So for instance, if we take a look at one Harvard study that investigated female versus male leadership, it says that there were 16 competencies that are key to leadership, and women actually outperform men in almost all of the competencies. So this study actually breaks this myth that we have, that women take care and make men take charge, because women actually prove, according to this study, to be better also in taking charge and driving for results. So I would say, and wrap up my advice, that I often say, be competent like a woman, and ambitious and confident like a man. Because obviously there is the leadership ambitious gap when we're speaking about women. They have the education, they have the competencies, but somehow they lack the ambition or the bravery. So this is my key advice. We should all believe that we can make a change, even with our small steps. Each and everyone can make a change. I think we are all seeing, especially in the past years, how the world is changing, and the question is, do we like the direction it's going, or do we want to change the wind? So can we do something about it? I think we all must believe that even though we think individually, I'm just a drop in the sea, we can, with our actions, contribute in any way, at least to the direction of the change. So maybe we impact one person or a small group, and then one person impacts another person, even with the perception or the attitude or the fight with the prejudice regarding gender equality and so on. So of course, the words are nothing, or ideas, if they're not put into action. So I would like to share with you something, or actually that I'm practicing these things that I'm preaching. During my second year of being e-trade for women advocate, I was very much inspired to give back and to receive and to learn and to mentor other women. And I started working on establishing an alliance on gender equality in the workplace that we recently launched. We are doing let's say a small official event in May. And our goal is actually to contribute toward gender equality and we strive to unlock the powerful synergy between women, digitalization, and e-commerce. So our pillars are equal pay, equal opportunity, and equal representation. And we're looking forward to give companies a pronounced role in being role models and raising awareness and putting things into action, into showing that women should be included in order for better business results and performance. We are also looking to foster public-private dialogue on the topic, and I'm happy to share that we are a proud commitment maker and the Generation Equality Forum, which where we committed ourselves together with the help of the E-Trade for Women network and Viri and Sabrina, so thanks to them for that. And last but not least, on your last question about what can governments do, I think there are many things that governments can do. They should do and try by all means to accelerate the path towards equality. Basically, the things that we are doing currently, that we have been doing in the past decade or so, are not providing the results, at least not at the speed we need. Economies are losing GDP because of the low representation of women in the economy. The Western Balkan region is losing 18% growth on a yearly basis due to the low representation of women. Therefore, I think we should, when I say all means, I think either that be quotas, policies of all sorts, I think that we shall take urgent actions, and governments need to be more agile, flexible, need to measure progress, see results, see what works, what doesn't, adapt, and then try with different mechanisms to accelerate the path toward gender equality. Just a few days ago, I saw a post from the UN that stated, from UN Women, is that these are the top 10 countries that have achieved gender equality. And then you could see 10 empty bullets. At the end of the post, it said none, there is no country that has achieved gender equality. So I will end my remarks with a food for thought, maybe also for the UN, maybe, and for other organizations, or let's say a brainstorming idea, maybe. Why don't we try also to gamify this process of this complex issue? We see that progress is slow, and maybe we should try and put this into words and make it a bit of a competition, like for countries and for country leaders to market themselves and to make it a race who will be the first to achieve gender equality. I mean, just an example, look at Albania and Edi Rama. They were the first country. They were on all news and media that said that we are the first country that has female-dominated government. 12 out of 17 people in government are women. So I think every country leader wants to be the first, wants to be the best at something, and why not that be gender equality? So let's try to stimulate a bit, just as a food for thought. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you very much for this food for thought. I think they are truly, yeah. I hope you hear all the big claps and the smiles in the room. Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
So let me now turn to Pradeep. Pradeep, Cuts International has been a very active and supportive and an extremely valued partner during the e-commerce week. And you have worked with us as a very, very good E-Trade for All partner. And you personally have long experience in bringing the civil society's voice to the debate on how to leverage e-commerce and the digital economy and the digital data for development. So please, what are your main takeaways from the week?
And I would also like to echo the wonderful comments made by several of my friends on the splendid work which you and your team have done in assembling this whole week of very rich debates. And they're not only rich, but they are very pregnant as well, in the sense that there is a possibility of many things coming out from these discussions. For example, one of the things that I said earlier was that when you're looking at e-commerce as a negotiating agenda, or what is happening in the WTO or outside the WTO JSI, is that we need to build capacity of LDCs to be able to negotiate, and that the capacity should be built in even before they enter into any agreement, which means you're aware that there is consciousness about it. Unfortunately, as it stands in the JSI on e-commerce, there are just 4 LDCs who are there. There was a mistaken number said at this meeting by an ambassador I would not like to name, that there are not too many LDCs. So what it only shows is that it is an unequal world. I mean, this is another point which I made earlier in the time, and this is something which has also come out very clearly. The fact is that the third major issue, which I feel is something which we have to deal with, the elephant in the room, is data. And it's emerging as a very major issue which will go beyond e-commerce. And therefore, on parenthesis, I would suggest that your program should also be renamed as digitalization, or rather than e-commerce, and to take it beyond that, because e-commerce is subsumed in digitalization. You're not going to exclude it. It's going to be more inclusive, because that is something which we keep on hearing from various delegates here, and particularly those who are. Now, fourth important aspect that came up again and again was something which I see in my own country, is the digital divide. Nearly, or slightly less than half the world population are devoid of internet. They do not have access to internet, or even instruments to be able, even if there was internet, whether they could access this. Now, it's not only e-commerce, but there are many governments in the world, developing country governments also are providing a lot of services through internet. Let's not forget that. And this is something which I said, that's ease of living as such. So we must understand the holistic picture of the digitalization, in which the work that we've done so far in the last 5 years or plus, Shamika, is excellent. And I've been watching it, and I'm so happy to be and proud to be a partner in this initiative. Needs to be consolidated and to be looked at with all the emerging challenges which are happening, rather than just to look at buyer-seller issues. And as I said, as a consumer activist, I've often found that cross-border redress is extremely difficult. Even within the country itself, redress is very, very difficult. So how do you deal with that? So unless there is a multilateral agreement on this kind of thing, which will recognize the legal systems of one country versus the other country, the seller's country and the buyer's country, you won't be able to deal with these kind of problems. And in so far as that is concerned, the point which is made by Isabel in the morning was, this is an excellent example of multilateralism in practice. So there is, I see, as I said, there is one very important pregnant point, which I would like to take as an important thing, is that we require this forum to expand from 139 countries to 200 countries that are there in the world, and see to it that they understand what is happening, etc. Now, the digital divide is multidimensional. Infrastructure and connectivity are key gaps. Other issues such as access to energy and digital skills should not be overlooked. Two major things which did not, has come out, but not true. Data, access to new technologies, and the relevant skill set will determine the future of human society in the 21st century. For example, it was highlighted that AI, artificial intelligence, and other technologies can improve value chain logistics, deliver customer-centric offerings, and bank the unbanked, and give them access to the digital world. This is again happening in many developing countries, banking the unbanked through digital means. It's easier than for a person to go across. Now, let me share with you my ideas of what we need to do to achieve more inclusive outcomes from digitalization. That is a challenge, and the lady before me who spoke about very passionately about gender balance and so on. Now, there is a growing consciousness about the fact that there has to be better gender balance than what exists. But at the same time, Shamika, what I've seen in many places is the males get ignored, in that argument. I'm not defending them for whatever reason. What I'm saying is, let us be aware that, let us look at it as a humanistic issue, as a human development, where whatever sex you are, which includes the third sex, the other sex, which again, nobody has spoken about. And that is now becoming more and more recognizable. Now, as I said earlier, for developing countries to harness e-commerce development potential, it is important to create opportunities and build the capacities of negotiators, small and medium enterprises, women, youth, and vulnerable communities in the e-commerce sector. By the way, we did a project, very interesting project with SMEs in Eastern India on the kind of digital threats that we get. And the surprising part of it was the ignorance that we found in terms of cybersecurity, which is extremely critical because if you have to go through the digital commerce world or whatever, you must understand what are the cybersecurity parameters. And where is it that you have to complain? There's, of course, in India, what I know, and there are special police stations being set up in many parts only dealing with cybersecurity. But our experience shows that the awareness of even educated engineering graduates on cybersecurity is very poor. So you can well imagine, those who are not so well literate. It has been highlighted that $14.5 billion can be added to the economy of the African continent through the mere inclusion of women in the e-commerce sector. I don't doubt it at all. And in my own experience, having worked, we are working in Africa in a big way since a long time, there are women coming into the mainstream in every place. And in many places, in fact, they have excluded men from that kind of trade. This is what I said. Ghana, for example, there are market queens. Now, no male can enter that trade. I'm just giving an example. So what I'm saying is there are many professions which develop where there is an inherent distinction. Cambodia's online platform, CambodiaTrade.com, initiated by the government together with the Enhanced Integration Framework, gives a practical example of fostering SMEs and women-led businesses integration into e-commerce. There's a good example there. This is also voiced here. UNCTAD and eCommerce Initiative for All and partners have been at the forefront of supporting developing countries and LDC's aspirations for digitalization and e-commerce integration. That is a broad statement, but is a fact that it is already progressing. Every time I attend these events, I find that we have achieved much more progress than in the past. Partnerships and data governance frameworks must be designed to help developing countries and LDCs to build their own data industry. Data is the new oil, as I said. It has huge value today. And therefore, issues have been discussed in the past. Even Europe is bringing in a kind of data protection law. Similarly, India is also going in the same direction that you cannot have data stored outside and so on and so forth. And that data must be valued at some point. Now, one thing which I did say, and I find that there is still a lot to be understood. We're still in the, we're still sort of learning to swim in the shallow end of the pool. The deep end of the pool is really deep, I can tell you that. By the time we get, the kinds of things which will happen, and don't forget that in the technical world, changes happen so fast and so frequently that you will not know what has happened. Anything which I keep on hearing, I mean, we were talking with some friends outside, what does blockchain mean? None of us understood that. Now I've understood what blockchain means. Again, it's a very important system which is being used for land records in India, blockchain. See, because there is so much of distortion which happens in the land registry by the rich and against the poor, that now that you are using blockchain, you can't get away with that sort of distortion. Similarly, there are many such issues which you must think about. And as I said, now all this has to be built capacity of LDCs particularly and developing countries to help their SMEs to take advantage of data-related opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities, particularly processing and so on and so forth. Enhance consumer information, data sharing on product safety, and redress in online markets. This is what I have spoken about, is something very important. And address, most importantly, digital market concentration and competition concerns. Other day, we were in another session with Shamika when I said that India has launched a very innovative parallel open network for e-commerce, which any seller or buyer can go to without any hindrance. So he doesn't have to go through these established platforms. Two of the biggest ones are Amazon and Walmart in India, and two big Indian national ones are Tatas and Jindals. We have, very large, but the kind of thing which Government of India has done in a very innovative fashion is to ensure that you can enhance competition. And these are issues which I think are important. So they all have to go like a flotilla of ships. You can't pick out one issue and leave the other issues behind. So you have a tremendous task ahead. So, Sabrina, etc. So continue doing this good job. With all my sincerity, I say this has been an excellent week. And I'm glad that I could come here after 2 years of COVID. Thank you.
Deep, and we also want to say how grateful we are for your collaboration. I mean, for the CUTS collaboration through and through, and you being here with us, and it's great because it's nice to have our partners with us. So let me now open the floor for any questions, any comments. I think Sabrina, anything that, because I cannot see, I don't think I can operate the platform from here. Okay, thank you. So Sabrina says there are a lot of comments and appreciations that we will take them into account as we finalize the final document. So now let me also tell you that all presentations, background material that have been used in various sessions have been posted on the UNCTAD e-commerce platform as well as the recording. So please, I think there are several recordings that I am going to be listening to. So please use them. And we also will prepare an outcome report. As Sabrina says, so many of your comments that you have posted will take into, we will reflect them. And we will send this to you, send the outcome report to all permanent missions in Geneva and to all registered participants. And we will post it on the web and it will be widely shared. I think we do this every e-commerce week. And these recommendations are extremely important for us to also prioritize our own work and for our eTrade for all partners also to prioritize their work because it's a very insightful recommendations that you have provided throughout the week. So now I come to the last bit and the nice bit of thanking everyone. So let me thank all our partners and in particular eTrade for all partners and who actively contributed to this week. And I think as I mentioned, I think DSG, you also mentioned the incredible number of 31 out of 34 partners who contributed to at least one session this year. So without you, we would not have been able to do this. So a very big thank you. So among these partners, so let me then single out the remarkable reporting work done by two of our eTrade for all partners, the CUTS team, Pradeep, and also Diplo Foundation and Geneva Internet Platform. And for their excellent session reports, and these are also available on the e-commerce week platform. And I think we need to clap for this amazing contribution. So thank you, Pradeep. Thank you, Johan. Then my colleagues in all parts of UNCTAD who have contributed in many different ways to the organization of this week, and namely our intergovernmental support team and our IT teams, and also the UNOG colleagues who work beyond schedule hours with my team to offer us such a seamless hybrid experience. And I know we didn't have glitches at all. I mean, it was an amazing platform and we just went in and absorbed the work of the platform. So I'd like to thank all the UNOG colleagues. And then the interpreters who did a remarkable job and many times, waiting beyond their allocated times. And then let me go to my team and who made this possible. Tobian, Sabrina, and Natalie, and the team, and Pila. Where is Pila? Oh, Pila is Pila and Pila's team, Laura. Don't know whether Laura is here. Okay, and then Cecile and the team, and also Diana and Clement, because I have seen you running around from room to room and fixing things and working with everyone. So thank you so much, because without all of you, it's not just without the entire team coming together, and without your commitment, your dedication, and your can-do attitude. I mean, that's what I saw. This has been a long journey. It just doesn't, it just happens beautifully in 1 week, but a lot of work has gone into tremendous amount of work and have gone into, and I know that many of you have not seen your families for days. So I just really want to thank you all. And without you, this would not have been possible. So I think we need a round of applause for all of you too. So colleagues now and dear participants from across the world, so we are now coming to the end of the 2022 e-commerce week. And I wish all of you a very nice weekend and look forward to continuing the conversation with many of you. I know there are many things that we have to pick up, sessions to be organized and books to be written, good practices to be written from India. So Pradeep, we will be reaching out to you. So having said that, thank you everyone and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much.
So where are you going?